Welcome to the Guild Tremor video strategy guides. I'm Danton, one of our main tanks and healer off-spec, and today I'll be explaining the Blood Queen Lana'thel encounter within Icecrown Citadel. Blood Queen Lana'thel is an encounter based on raw amounts of DPS and raid awareness. She technically has two phases that alternate back and forth, although phase 2 lasts only about 10 seconds. She has just over 14 million hit points and has an enrage timer of 5 minutes and 30 seconds. The encounter begins as normal. Both tanks up front and range classes stay spread out as much as possible. About 15 seconds into the encounter is where the fun begins. At the 15-second mark, Lana'thel will charge the person who is third on her threat table and bite them, causing them to deal 100% increased damage, heal for 10% of the damage caused, and cause no threat. This is a debuff that lasts for 75 seconds and is essential to the success of the fight. More on this in a moment. For the tanks, there are only two real abilities you'll need to worry about. The first is called Blood Mirror, which causes 100% of the damage taken by the target to also be taken by the linked target. The main tank is affected by this, as well as the closest person to the main tank, which generally should be the off tank. The other ability is called Delirious Slash and causes 50% weapon damage and causes the target to bleed for around 5,000 damage per 3 seconds and can stack. This ability is generally only used on the off tank. Throughout phase 1 of the encounter, players will need to be wary of 3 abilities. The first is an aura Lana'thel has that deals 4,500 shadow damage every 3 seconds, which is a healer's worst nightmare. Prayer of Shadow Protection from a priest, or Shadow Resistance aura from a paladin are extremely helpful for this encounter. The second ability is similar to something from Lord Jarax's fight in Trial of the Crusader. A random player will be affected by something called Swarming Shadows, which causes a small cloud of shadows to form at the ground every 2 seconds underneath the target, and deals around 2,500 damage per second per cloud. The affected player will need to move constantly to avoid taking damage. The easiest way to do this is to make a giant U-shape by running outwards and then back inwards towards Lana'thel. This spreads the shadows out and hopefully prevents damage from being taken. The third ability is called Pact of the Dark Fallen. This ability causes 2 players to become linked and cause damage to each other and nearby players until they are within 5 yards of each other. Due to the always present minor lag, it's suggested to run straight through the other player. Pact of the Dark Fallen deals around 3,500 shadow damage per second until dispelled. Now, back to the biting effect from before. After 75 seconds, the player's action bar who was bitten changed to reflect a single ability, Vampiric Bite. The player will then have 12 seconds to find and bite another player before they become mind-controlled by Lana'thel. If the player is successful and bites another player, both players will revert to having the debuff, which increases damage, health, and causes no threat, in addition to restoring their action bars. After 75 seconds, the same thing will happen, and both affected players will need to bite a new player each, thus making 4 players bitten. Another 75 seconds will pass, and these 4 will once again have to bite 1 new player each, making 8 players bitten in total. As far as the biting goes, I have 3 suggestions for everyone. First, bite your best DPS first, followed by the rest of the DPS and healers last. Second, be behind your target and facing your target before you bite them. Third, don't bite your target right away. Let the debuff timer tick down to about 2 or 3 seconds. It generally helps to balance the fight out via the timing of certain abilities. Phase 2 happens every 2 minutes and lasts for 10 seconds. Lana'thel casts Incite Terror, which causes a 4-second fear, then rushes to the center of the area and floats upward. While floating, she casts Blood Bolt Whirl, flinging 3 blood bolts at each raid member, dealing around 10,000 damage every 2 seconds, and dealing splash damage to nearby targets. If the raid is not spread out evenly, deaths can and will happen. After 10 seconds, she will come down and revert back to Phase 1. If the raid can be ever vigilant of their surroundings and be aware of the debuffs that they have on them, as well as know the order of the bite targets ahead of time, then the fight should actually go pretty smoothly. As always, thanks for watching our videos. If you have any questions, I encourage you to post them in the YouTube comment section below, or feel free to visit our website forums at www.feelthetremor.com.